Isabella Carter had never stepped into a world like this. Crystal chandeliers glowed above her, sending shimmers of light across polished marble floors. Waiters in white gloves carried trays of champagne, and the air was thick with the low hum of strings from a live quartet. Guests glided in gowns worth more than her yearly salary. She tried to steady her breathing. She shouldn't be here. She was a schoolteacher, with rent checks always calculated down to the last dollar, her wardrobe stitched together by thrift store finds and practicality. The emerald green gown she wore tonight was borrowed from her best friend, Claire, who worked in PR and had begged her to come as her +1 to the Miller Foundation's annual charity gala. "Smile, Bella," Claire whispered as they slipped into the ballroom. "Nobody knows you don't belong here. Just enjoy it, right?" Isabella's nerves were already taut. This was a room where wealth was flaunted in every diamond and handshake, where fortunes changed hands over whispered deals. She only reminded herself to breathe because the night's proceeds would go to rebuilding libraries in struggling schools, something that mattered deeply to her. She was reaching for a flute of champagne when it happened. "Mommy." The word was soft but carried straight to her. Isabella froze. Slowly, she turned, and her heart tripped. A little boy stood a few feet away, dressed in a tiny tuxedo. He couldn't have been more than 5. His hair, dark and slightly unruly, caught the light. His eyes, hazel with green flecks, were so strikingly familiar that she momentarily forgot to breathe. Her own eyes. The boy's lips trembled into a smile of wonder. He stepped closer. "Mommy, you came back." Gasps rippled around nearby tables. Heads turned. A murmur of gossip bloomed in the air like wildfire. Isabella dropped into a crouch, her voice shaky but gentle. "Sweetheart, I think you've mistaken me for someone else." But the boy only rushed into her arms, clutching her gown with a desperate strength. "It's you. I knew you'd come back for me." Her chest ached at his words. She had no children. She had never even seen this boy before. Yet the way he held her, it was as if his tiny arms were built for this embrace. "Ethan." The voice was low, commanding, and carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken rules. Isabella looked up, and her world tilted. Striding toward them was Gabriel Miller, the billionaire heir whose foundation hosted tonight's gala. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his black suit cut to perfection. His presence silenced conversations, drew stares, demanded attention without effort. He was the kind of man who filled magazine covers, ruthless in the boardroom, devastatingly handsome, untouchable. But in this moment, he didn't look untouchable. His jaw was tight, his dark eyes stormy, his stride swift as he reached for the boy. "Ethan, what did I tell you about running off?" His voice softened slightly when he looked at his son, but the steel returned when his gaze landed on Isabella. Ethan's little face scrunched up, tears threatening. "Daddy, it's Mommy." She came back. The air left Isabella's lungs. She glanced around. Guests were whispering, gawking. She felt heat rush to her cheeks. Gabriel's hand closed gently but firmly around Ethan's shoulder. "Enough," he said. "Apologize to the lady. She isn't your mother." But Ethan only clung tighter to Isabella's gown. "She is. I know it. Don't make her go again." The words cracked like thunder inside her chest. Gabriel's eyes, dark as midnight, pinned her. For a fleeting second, she thought she saw something flicker there, something like recognition, confusion, or maybe fear. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by suspicion. "My apologies," he said curtly to Isabella, though his gaze never left hers. "My son seems mistaken." She tried to speak, to explain that she had no idea why this child thought she was his mother, but words tangled on her tongue. And all the while, Ethan's little arms clung to her, refusing to let go. The rest of the evening blurred. Isabella tried to disappear into the background, but whispers followed her like shadows. Who is she? Why did Ethan call her mommy? The gossip was relentless. Claire tugged her arm. "Bella, let's go before this becomes a scandal." But before they could slip away, a hand caught Isabella's wrist. Warm, firm, inescapable. Gabriel Miller. "Miss Carter, isn't it?" His voice was low, meant only for her. Her throat tightened. "Yes, step outside with me, now." It wasn't a request. His grip loosened the moment they reached the terrace, where the city skyline glittered under the night sky. The music inside was muffled, the air cool against her skin. But Gabriel's presence burned hotter than fire. He turned on her, his expression unreadable. "Who put you up to this?" Her brows knitted. "What? This stunt, making my son believe you're his mother. Was it a reporter? A rival? Do you want money?" His tone was icy, but beneath it was a raw edge, almost desperation. Her anger flared. I don't know what fantasy you've built in your head, Mr. Miller, but I'm not a liar. I've never met you or your son before tonight. I'm a schoolteacher. I don't belong in your world, and I certainly wouldn't exploit a child to get here. For a moment, the steel in his gaze faltered. Doubt cracked through. You expect me to believe Ethan mistook a stranger for his mother? His voice lowered, rougher now. Do you have any idea how rarely he even speaks of her? Isabella's heart stuttered. Where is his mother? Silence. Gabriel's jaw worked, and then he answered, his voice heavy, she's gone. She died years ago. The words sliced through Isabella. She swayed slightly, gripping the terrace railing. The boy's desperate plea echoed in her ears. Don't send her away again, Daddy. Please. She came back. But if she's gone, she whispered, then why would he think? That's what I intend to find out, Gabriel cut in, stepping closer. He loomed over her, his presence both dangerous and magnetic. His scent, cedar, spice, something dark, made her head spin. There's something you're not telling me. I've told you everything I know. Her voice trembled. It was true. At least, everything she was aware of. And yet, a shadow stirred at the edges of her memory. Something long buried. A lullaby hummed under harsh fluorescent lights. The faint weight of something warm in her arms. A hospital room blurred by tears and exhaustion. No, that couldn't be hers, could it? Gabriel studied her, eyes sharp and searching, as if he could read the secrets she didn't even know she carried. Stay away from my son, he said finally. But the command was frayed with something else, fear, perhaps, or longing. Whatever connection he feels toward you, it ends now. He turned as if to leave, but before he could, a small voice rang out. Daddy. Ethan stood in the doorway of the terrace, his eyes wide, his voice steady despite the tears shining there. You're wrong. She is Mommy. I know it. Gabriel froze. Isabella's throat closed, and in that fragile moment, caught between a grieving child's conviction and a billionaire's guarded fury, Isabella felt the world shift beneath her feet. Because against all logic, against every defense she'd built around her heart, a part of her wanted to believe Ethan was right. Isabella Carter told herself she wouldn't stare. The chandeliers alone could pay off her student loans twice over. Every polished marble step she took echoed in the grand ballroom, reminding her she wasn't meant to be here. The Miller Foundation's charity dinner was a world away from her own, a world of designer gowns, diamond-dripped wrists, and auction paddles waved by people who thought nothing of bidding more than she made in a year. She smoothed the skirt of the emerald gown she'd borrowed from her best friend, Claire. Try not to look like you're holding your breath, Claire whispered as they entered. These people can smell nerves like sharks smell blood. Easy for you to say, Isabella muttered. Claire worked in PR, used to being around high society. Isabella was a schoolteacher. She belonged in a classroom full of crayons and storybooks, not under a crystal chandelier where champagne flowed like water. She reminded herself she was here for the cause. Tonight's donations would rebuild libraries in underfunded schools. That was her reason for standing among billionaires. That was what she clung to when her chest felt too tight. She reached for a glass of champagne, anything to keep her hands occupied, when she heard it. Mommy. The word was soft, but it pierced her like a bell. She turned. A boy stood just a few feet away, no older than 5. His tuxedo looked freshly pressed, though a stubborn cowlick marred the neatness of his dark hair. His eyes, startlingly hazel, flecked with green, locked with hers. Her heart skipped. My eyes. Mommy, he whispered again, more certain this time. His lips trembled into a smile as he hurried toward her. You came back. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests turned. Voices buzzed. Isabella froze, then dropped to her knees, instinct overriding sense. Sweetheart, I think you've mistaken me for. But the boy cut her off by wrapping his arms around her waist. His tiny hands clutched the fabric of her gown like lifelines. Don't go away again, he pleaded. Her throat closed. I don't even know this child. Why does it feel like I do? Ethan. The deep, commanding voice made the hairs on her neck rise. She looked up. Gabriel Miller was cutting through the crowd. The billionaire's son. The heir. The man whose face graced magazine covers and business journals alike. His presence was magnetic. Broad shoulders, sharp jaw, dark eyes that revealed nothing. Every step radiated authority. He reached the boy in seconds, bending to pull him gently but firmly away. Ethan, what did I tell you about wandering? But Daddy, The boy's voice cracked. He pointed at Isabella, tears brimming. That's Mommy. I knew she'd come back. A collective hush swept the room. Isabella's pulse thundered in her ears. Gabriel's gaze finally locked onto her. For an instant, something flickered, shock, recognition, before his expression hardened into stone. My apologies, he said coldly, his hand on his son's shoulder like a tether. My child seems confused. Isabella's voice faltered. The words tangled in her throat. Ethan struggled in his father's grip. Don't send her away, Daddy, please, don't. The desperation in his little voice cut Isabella to the core. She had no idea why he thought she was his mother. But the ache in his eyes, the sheer belief, carved into her like a knife. She couldn't explain why tears stung her own. Part 2, Shadows of the Past. The night should have moved on. The orchestra played, glasses clinked, deals were whispered. But no one forgot. Isabella felt their eyes on her, heard the rumors ripple like wind. Who is she? Why did Ethan call her Mommy? Claire tugged her arm. Bella, we should leave before this turns into something ugly. Isabella nodded numbly, but before they reached the exit, a firm hand closed around her wrist. Gabriel Miller. His touch wasn't rough, but it was unyielding. A word. Outside. She opened her mouth to argue, but the storm in his eyes silenced her. Against her better judgment, she followed him through glass doors onto the terrace. Cool air hit her skin, but his presence was hotter than fire. Who sent you? His voice was sharp, laced with suspicion. What? Don't play innocent. Making my son believe you're his mother. Was it a rival? A tabloid? Or are you just looking for money? Her shock flared into anger. Excuse me, I'm a teacher, Mr. Miller. I don't have the faintest idea why your son thinks I'm his mother. I've never met you before. And I certainly wouldn't use a child to, blackmail my way into high society. The rawness in her voice made him pause. His jaw tightened, but doubt flickered in his eyes. You expect me to believe Ethan mistook a stranger for his mother? He asked, voice low. Her arms folded defensively. Children get confused. Maybe I look like her. His gaze darkened. You don't understand. He never talks about her. Ever. Not once in years. The weight in his voice caught her off guard. Carefully, she asked, where is she? A silence stretched. Then Gabriel's voice softened, though it carried the heaviness of grief. She died when Ethan was just a baby. Isabella's breath caught. The boy's plea echoed in her ears. Don't send her away again, Daddy. Please. She came back. If she's gone, Isabella whispered, why would he? That's what I intend to find out. Gabriel stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. There's something you're not telling me. I've told you everything. She wanted her voice steady, but it shook. And deep inside, something stirred, something she didn't want to admit. A sliver of memory surfaced, uninvited. A lullaby under fluorescent hospital lights. The faint weight of a newborn against her chest. Exhaustion. Tears. No, that wasn't hers. It couldn't be. Gabriel studied her as though peeling back her layers. His suspicion was palpable, but beneath it lurked something else. Fear, hope. He masked it quickly. Stay away from my son, he ordered. The steel in his tone was undercut by the faintest tremor. Whatever connection he feels toward you, it ends now. He turned to leave, but Ethan had followed. The little boy's voice, trembling but sure, stopped them both. Daddy, you're wrong. Ethan's eyes, brimming with tears, fixed on Isabella. She is Mommy. I know it. The world stilled. Gabriel froze. Isabella's heart pounded so hard she thought the sound might crack the night air. And in that fragile moment, Isabella realized she wasn't the only one searching for answers. Because against all logic, against every defense she had, a part of her wanted to believe Ethan was right.